Like we don't have any more time. Thanks for coming.
Again, now that Mark has introduced Jay and Kelly, let's give them a round of applause again. Again, in the spirit of Belhaven service, to serve and not be served, I also want to ask Dr. Anthony, if you would please stand. Dr. Anthony and I, a few months ago, we began discussing the prospects of sports broadcasting, and to have Jay Harris and Kelly Jones to join us as part of our partnership, the Sports Administration Department, we're just excited about what the future holds for sports broadcasting here at Belhaven. And to kick us off in an appropriate way in the coldness and of Mississippi weather, we're going to look forward to this advice from the pros as Jay Harris and Kelly Jones expound upon their lives and hopefully inspire each of you to pursue and continue looking to the hills when it comes to your help, knowing that your help comes from the Lord. So with that being said, we have Jay Harris, Kelly Jones in the building. Give them a hand again.
Do we start?
No, we will not start.
Okay.
Jay.
Yes, Mark.
Okay. Yes, Miss Kelly.
Sorry, of all my accomplishments, one thing that wasn't mentioned is that I'm a mother. And that's my proudest accomplishment. I'm a single mom. Thank you. Thank you. Best gig on the planet. Okay.
I'm gonna keep that one up for you.
I'm a dad.
A dad of two.
All right.
Well, first question, wanted to, for both of you, feel like we're in a game show, okay? Two questions, both to Jay and Kelly. In terms of, a lot of people, they watch you on SportsCenter, okay? But a lot of people probably wondering, how did you get your start? What made you want to become a broadcaster? Did this happen overnight?
No.
Was it something that you dreamed of? Because there was no ESPN when you were a baby, right?
That's funny.
It's true. It's true.
Not
But it's true.
baby, no.
No, but when they were babies, there was ESPN, right? So what made you
insulting me?
I'm not insulting you. You know I love you, Jay. Come on, man. We want to make sure that they know that we're not stiff and we're not boring.
No,
okay?
absolutely not. All right, it started when I was in the 11th grade. I took a test, one of those career aptitude tests, and I scored well in interpersonal skills. And I looked down at the job and said, journalist. And I'm like, that's what I'll be. Really, that's where it started.
I know that, but let's elaborate a little more than that.
That's where it started. That's where it
Okay,
started.
that's where it started. And then what happened when you saw a journalist? Did you look it up in a dictionary? What is a journalist?
No, I knew what it meant.
Okay, good. All right.
That's why I chose it. It made me lose my train of thought. And it's not a very difficult thing to do. Well, I went to Old Dominion and I majored in communications. And I did one internship. Do more than one internship. And take your internship seriously. I'm so silly. They used to do a lot of newsroom shots at the station where I interned. And I don't know if you've ever done this, Kelly. I set up the VCR to record the newscast, and I knew they were going to do a shot of the newsroom. So when they started, I walked behind the live shot. And I went home and I watched me on television walking behind the live shot. Because I wanted to be on television. So you take your internships more seriously. And I eventually I got something out of it. And that's where it started. I started in radio. I got my start at radio news and essentially worked my way up into television and to ESPN. We'll get into that later. That's my start. Kelly, how'd you start?
Thank you for asking. I remember being as young as 8 years old saying I wanted to be on TV. And I was blessed enough to have a family that supported me, that said, we believe in you, now go make it happen. And from that point on, and especially being a mother now, I see my kids saying the same thing in the same way. I support them. My parents told me to not just be, because you're just really an oxygen waster if you just be. And by that I mean you have to be so expeditious with your ways. So what, you want to be on TV? What differentiates you from everybody else? So when you talk about interning, I interned in radio. I also interned at a newspaper, also interned at TV. And I was an intern's intern. And I'm talking about back in the day intern, where you got coffee and you got paper and you were so excited to hold a microphone, and especially when my nails were painted, you know what I mean? And I made sure that my family would watch and see that was my work. But I always did more than I should have because I was so excited and blessed to be in that space. And I think that nowadays that's kind of missing, that a lot of people think that somebody owes you something and they owe you nothing. And so as I carry upon the legacy that my parents impressed upon me, I made sure to be different. I wanted someone, maybe somebody didn't remember my name, but they remember my work ethic. And so at a very young age, again, I interned at WJR, where Mitch Albom is. You know Mitch Albom. And from a television standpoint, before I got my internship, I moved into an apartment 3 blocks from the station because I knew that was my internship. But that's just the way I was raised. That is mine. It's mine to take. And so I went in there and I made sure to not just to get to know the anchors, but get to know the reporters, get to know the photographers, get to know the sales managers. Understand that, like my college professor said, it's called show business, but the bigger word is business. And so, and from that point on, I just did what I had to do. I marched to my own beat. I don't tell a lot of people my dreams, but I think that I'm results driven. And so doing what I've loved, because I didn't have a plan B. There was no woulda, coulda, shoulda. It was, this is going to happen, period. All caps.
I still don't have a plan B.
And with that being said, this question is both Jay and Kelly. What is the hardest part of your job on a day-to-day basis?
Think about it, sir. I don't know if I would classify anything as particularly difficult, and I don't mean to sound like I know it all, but once you kind of get into a groove, you feel confident that whatever happens, you can handle it. Whether it's whether you're given a lead in to write, you have to be creative, or whether there's breaking news and someone dies, like when George Steinbrenner died, we did 4-hour shows, and they got in my ear and said, "You're going to talk to Donald Trump in a minute." He's on the line waiting to talk about his friend George Steinbrenner. So you just do it. And I kind of like that. It's different every day. I don't get a chance to get into a rut. I don't get a chance to get scared because I have no choice. When the red light comes on, something has to come out of my mouth that's at least semi-intelligent and hopefully entertaining. So nothing particularly difficult.
I think when I was on the news side, people called me the people's anchor because I feel like I'm the voice. I'm the voice for the person of color. I'm the voice from the person that's a mommy. I'm the voice from the person who some people didn't believe in. And so I think that I just want to make sure that I represent the community in which I serve. And sometimes that's hard because it's, especially in TV, you're in this bubble and you don't get out often. You're kind of like a little gremlin. You don't get out often, but it's so important to stay in tuned and have your hand on the pulse of what the city needs and wants. As far as being hard, like I always say, we're not dodging bullets in Afghanistan. So this is all relative. And again, going back to being a mom, I birthed children. There's nothing I can't do. Seriously. But with that said, I treat every day like I'm an intern at work. I'm so excited. My heart skips a beat. I mean, if you guys are fans of the Baltimore Ravens, you know Ray Lewis does a squirrel dance. I do a huge number before I get into the studio because it's game time. And nobody cares if you have bills to pay. Nobody cares if your head hurts. They want to see you perform because if not, somebody will come behind you and do it faster and cheaper and quicker without as much heart. And so I feel so honored to be able to put a microphone on every morning, especially because I just debuted a new show in September. To go from the news side for 12 years, and now I'm hosting my own show, that's a big doggone deal. But with all that responsibility, it comes just that, responsibility and the pressure to represent and not forget where you come from. And that's so important to me. So hard, I would call it hard, but I think it's important to let people know that I'm one of you. I just happen to wear a microphone.
That's a good point, Kelly. You talked about, I want you to continue with that theme. You talked about you knew that this was what you wanted to do. What are some of the skill sets that you attained when you were in college as well as high school that helped you prepare for your job now? Because there's a lot of students, you do a lot of research papers, you have assignments that you work with your classmates, and some of you don't like writing, some of you don't like, being in class for a long time or your communications. What are some of the skill sets that they need to learn now that's going to be essential if they want to get into your profession?
I think first and foremost is to find a mentor. Because whatever it is you think you want to do, you need to align yourself with that person doing that business and then have them introduce you to all the different roles within that building. Because what you may think you want to do may not be what you really want to do when you find out how much money you won't make. Like in television, my first job in Yuma, Arizona, I was making $19,000. I was rich. I was going to treat people to lunch. But it's like you don't get into it for the money, you get into it for the passion. If you don't have passion, don't even bother. Because in my world, the camera sees right through that. So when it comes to getting me ready, you have to learn how to write. I can write, I can edit, I can produce, I can direct, I can anchor, I can report, I can do weather, I can do sports, I can do it all and that's the beauty of coming up through the small market mentality. You learn how to do for yourself. So I remember when we were on Super VHS, and I had to edit, and then there'd be a wrinkle in the tape, and you try to move it a little bit before you time. But because I came from that, I can appreciate HD, and I can appreciate having a studio. We have our own studio just for my show. We don't have to share with the news station. We have our own studio, but you have to go through something to appreciate something. So again, I can write from a radio standpoint, because writing for radio is different for newspaper, which is different for TV. You have to understand what you're doing, and you won't understand it until you meet somebody who's doing what you think you want to do. But I just think it's so important that you don't have firm plans. By 28, I'm going to do this, this, and this. Yeah, good luck with that. Good luck with that, because the world is moving and changing. And if you're not ahead of the game, you're behind the curve. I'm a huge sports fan. I have to tell everyone that I grew up wanting to be a sportscaster. So this man right here, he's got the job of jobs. But I decided that the news route was a little bit easier for me, and there were more opportunities for me, and that's what I did. But it doesn't define me, and I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent, so I'm sorry, but I think it's really important that you don't allow your title to define you. I do TV. TV doesn't define me. There's so much more to Kelly Jones than being on TV. I like that people say I have a good heart, or that I'm in the community. That's what I stand for. And I learned all that from watching people that I admired on TV. And there's people on TV who were just not nice people when you met them. They thought they were God's gift to this green earth. And it's like, are you serious? You're not even saving lives. You're reading a teleprompter. You don't treat people like that. And so I've learned the hard knocks of the business up close and personal, and it's my duty to make sure that I pull somebody up like somebody did for me. So that would be my very long answer.
Very good answer.
What she said. It's a lot of the same things. I would be repeating. I would say one thing you might want to try and really work on is storytelling. We are storytellers. I tell young folks all the time, I want to be a sportscaster. No, you don't. You want to be a journalist. You want to be able to go get a story, bring it back, and then present it to the world or wherever you are. That's what you want to do. You want to tell a story. You can tell a story about a game. I can tell a story about this microphone. If I shoot it right, and if I can go history, and if I really think about it, I can do a minute 30 on this microphone because I'm a storyteller. That's what you want to get into. Anybody can dress you up and give you this, but if you can't go out and bring back the news or bring back something interesting, they can't really use you. Anybody can just stand up there and look pretty. And I'm gonna tell you, you guys have so many advantages that we didn't have. Well, I'm way older than you. You could do your own show from your living room now and put it on the internet, and people can see it in 10 seconds. I mean, folks come up to me and I want to do what you do. Well, why don't you go home and do it? It's that easy. You can write a script, set up a little camera, throw it on the internet, get followers, post it on Twitter, your Facebook page, do your own show. Practice being a journalist. What you see on television, you do it. And that will count towards your preparation for when you get to be where we are. It's not rocket science. It's a lot of reps. It's a lot of practice. That's what you need to do.
Before you go, Howard, I want to kind of echo what you talked about. Jay, I've been to SportsCenter with Jay many times. He's on the air. As you know, SportsCenter's live. And I've seen him 10 seconds before he goes on. He's making jokes. And when the red light goes on, it's showtime for him. Quickly. And it's like, I've not met that many people in the industry, including Bob Costas, Marv Albert, those guys. Jay's on that level, okay? Jay's about to go to the next level. This guy can sit here in front of you, talk to you. He's that comfortable in his own skin that he can get on Sports Center and go live, just like that. And then, like he talked about, George Steinbrenner had passed away. He had to talk to Donald Trump, and he had to be ready. He didn't have time to hesitate. Okay, this man, he sleeps and drinks and breathes what he does. And one of the things that Kelly talked about, having that passion, whatever you do, don't try to be like Jay and Kelly. Be like yourself. Be your own person. Don't try to be like they are. Be like who you are. Create who you want to become. Not try to, but also use them as a platform.
Well, yeah, Peter Jennings was my guy. God rest his soul. That's who I wanted to be like. And Brian Gumbel was my other guy. He still is. So when I would write a story, I would put in my head, how would Peter Jennings present this? Because I thought he was the best. And it's a Xerox business until you get your feet under you. And that's who I wanted to be. So I tried to write it. I tried to ask a question like it when I'm doing an interview. How would Brian advance this? What would he do? Because he's one of the better interviewers out there. So that's okay. That's fine. I call this the practice of journalism. It's like the practice of medicine. If you meet a journalist and say they know it all, you run, because they don't.
Speaking of running, Jay and Kelly, here at Belhaven, we stress on teaching our students Christian worldview, trying to do things the right way. What would God do in a certain situation? The question I have is, with the news media of today, where stories can come from basements, the kid going down the street, reporting it. In terms of your success, how do you feel, and how can you encourage our students to continue doing things the right way to achieve success? What is your expectation in terms of success? Is it getting it done quickly or getting it done right?
I mean, accuracy is important, because especially the way the news cycle is a 24-hour cycle, when people are tweeting and Facebooking and the media is right here, right now, you need to be accurate, because there's nothing worse than being first and being wrong. Because once you lose the trust of your audience, they'll never come back to you, ever. And something else that's really interesting in the media is that if you look, we're not supposed to talk about God. That's the big unspoken deal that happens in the media, but I have no problem talking about it because I know what I was put here to do. And, you know, people don't want to hear a Bible-thumping person. They don't want to hear an atheist. They kind of feel like religion is kind of like who you vote for. You keep it at home. But for me, I think you have to choose your path. You have to, at the very beginning, say, who do I want to be? Because the same way you go in is the same way you go out. You can't be some wild child on whatever social media and then all of a sudden say, you know, thank you, Lord Jesus. I mean, you've got to have a spine. You have to have texture. It's really important. So for me, I have no problem saying, you know, God bless everyone. That's just me being me. No one can take my faith from me. And because I know that I'm only here by the grace of God. This is all a blessing. I was telling Jay this last night, that people spend their whole life kind of searching for what it is they're here for. I know my purpose, and my purpose is to be a vessel. And that vessel is to get information and share it with other people. That is how blessings continue on and on and on. While I appreciate people's compliments, this isn't me. It's God who put me here, because I have my own issues. I have my own problems. But I use those as experience and texture to define where I want to be and to help the other person. That's a big deal to me. Huge.
I can add nothing to that answer. That was perfect. That was perfect. Really?
Good answer.
Next question.
Well, I know you want to say something, Jay,
No.
but I'm gonna say something along those lines. You know, Kelly talked about it, but in terms of Jay, because I know where you are, but I want you to share with them. How has your spirituality played a role in how you present yourself, not only on TV but also as a father, and how you deal with Bryce and Tyra?
I think it's pretty basic, and I go back to something my grandmother used to say. She said, always be nice. Wherever you are, always be nice. And I know where that came from. And I got my work review a couple weeks ago, and they asked everyone, from my bosses to my peers to the folks in the studio, and I read some of the comments from some of the folks in the studio. And they said things like, always speaks to people. He's always cordial. He doesn't talk to you like you're less than he is. And Kelly talked about some not nice people in this business, and there are some not nice people in this business who think they're up here, and they're gonna have a hard fall when they get back down to here. I don't want to be that guy. I'm no better than the person who's giving me my microphone. That's just their job. And they do their job well, and I try to do my job well, and I appreciate it. Because if I don't have that microphone on, no one's gonna hear me. So who am I to look down on this person who's doing audio? That's pretty stupid. Or the person who's going, 10 seconds! Like, he irritates me to death. That's his gig. I know why he's doing it. And we joke those. It's the funniest thing. When my co-anchor's reading, he's trying to tell me to do something, and I read his lips, and I know what he's saying. And he's like, wait, 20 seconds, yeah, we'll go there. What? 20 seconds, you have to go there. I said, what? 20 seconds, go there. I know. Oh, why do you keep doing that to me? Then I like to have fun. So always be nice. Treat people like you want to be treated, because it's really, whatever job you have is not that big a deal. It really is not that big a deal.
Something else I want to add is you need to be real, because the camera does not blink. And while you think you may be faking the funk, so to speak, people see through that. They see your sincerity. They see when you really don't care, if you want to be somewhere else. I love the fact that when people see me at my favorite store, Target, in Kansas City with my kids, I go into mama mode. And I let my kids know, don't let the microphone fool you, because I'm going to be your mom a whole lot longer than I'm going to be Kelly Jones on TV. And something that my parents tell me is, don't believe your own hype. While it's great that everybody loves Kelly Jones, let's be real, if Kelly Jones was doing another job, nobody would be talking about her. So while I have the platform, it is so important to be nice and treat people like you want to be treated. Because I remember a time when I looked up, when I was younger, I met the main anchor in Detroit, and she was not very nice, just a mean woman. And so she said, hey little girl, and she made her face like that, hey little girl, what do you want to do when you grow up? And she really didn't care. It's almost like she had a check in the box, like, let me ask this kid this, let me ask this kid this. And I looked at her without blinking and I said, I'm going to take your job. That's just the way I was raised. You know what I mean? And it was confidence. I wasn't being a snotty-nosed little kid, but I knew that I had a goal and a dream, and that there was no one that was going to get in my way. But as I was ascending, I made sure to treat people the way I wanted to be treated, no matter their title. And I love when I get comments that I treat CEOs the same as I do janitors. Because if you think about it, we all go to the bathroom the same way, truly. And at the end of our life, people never say, gosh, I wish I could have worked more. They always say, I wish I spent more time with my family, or I wish I could have been a better person. And that's really, what I stand for. And it's so important to me to be a role model to my children. Because as long as those two little people love me, that's it. That really, truly is it. So being a nice person, it resonates, because this business is so doggone small. And before you to the next place that you already talked about, because they'll remember you as thinking you were a diva, thinking you're somebody. I'm no different. My job is just with a microphone.
Someone at the next place.
Right.
Who used to work with you at the last
That's right.
place.
And they knew you win.
They have friends who.
And they'll tell you about
She's
it.
come to the station.
Yep.
Yeah,
They'll do the 411 on you. And you have, what can you say, but that was then? So it is just so important, again, to start, the way you start is the way you finish, period.
Many of our students are aspiring to be sports administrators, coaches, athletic directors. What has been your most embarrassing moment as it relates to interviewing coaches or athletic directors, or just in general?
I have two. I have three. Really quickly, I used to do news updates at this NBC affiliate in Pittsburgh, and I had just got my earpiece, and it didn't fit very well. So I did the end of my 30-second news update, and I said, I'm Jay Harris, your 24-hour news source. And right before I left the screen, my earpiece went ping, and popped out of my ear. That was all everybody wanted to talk about on Monday morning, was my earpiece popping out of my ear. That's one. Two, I'm doing a radio report in Portsmouth, Virginia, and there's this big story about, it's a custody battle involving a foster kid, and mom and dad's not there, and the grandmother wants a child. So around the story, And all the bigger TV stations, big TV stations and newspapers, everybody has to go. I have a very soft deadline for my radio station. So I get to hang out and talk, and I knock on the door, and the grandmother lets me talk to the kid. No one has gotten to talk to this kid. No one, except for me. So we walk and we talk, and I get this story, and I go back to the van, and I'm writing the story, and I call in to my news anchor friend, and he's asking me questions. He's asking me questions. And I'm answering them. Like, he's like, you talk to the kid? Yeah, blah, blah, blah. And what about the dad? No, dad wasn't there because they don't expect dad to come back anytime. And how was the mom? So the mom, well, she's got some issues, blah, blah, blah. And he keeps asking me these questions. I'm thinking to myself, why is he asking me all these questions? I need to write my story. After his last question, he goes, that was Jay Harris live. I know. And I was like, hello, no. Got back to the station. And my news director's like, I knew you didn't know. I knew you didn't. I was just saying, Jay, just please don't cuss. Please. Please don't. I didn't. That was 2. Here's the last one. So I signed to cover a story at Hampton University. They do a program in aviation, and one of their famous alums, the actor Lou Gossett Jr., is coming to help present the news conference, because he just did a movie. He played an aviator, and he's one of my dudes. That's Fiddler from Roots, and he's Satchel That's Lou Gossett Jr. right there. It's my man. So I pack up my stuff and I go to Hampton and I walk in the room and the media's there, and that's my mayor. That's Fiddler from Roots. He's standing right there. He's standing right there. So I put my microphone down and my recorder, and then I walk away from it. And had a press conference and everything, and afterwards people pick up the stuff and they try to talk one-on-one, and I'm too shy because that's Lou Gossett Jr. That's Fiddler. And I'm standing there, so I go to the car. And I look at my tape, and my tape is already rewound. Hey, that's interesting. How's my tape already rewound? Because I didn't rewind it. I didn't start it. I had not pressed play or record. And I sure didn't press them at the same time, because that's what you're supposed to do back in the day. So I get back to the station, and the same guy who was going, please don't cuss, meets me at the door and says, all right, what you got? I ain't got nothing. What do you mean you have anything? You did stories. He said, but this is Lou Gossett Jr., man. Fiddler, he was right there. I saw him right there. I ain't got nothing. So he leaned in. Yeah, Kelly leaned in. He leaned in and said, don't you ever go out to a story ever again and not come back with the story. And he walked away. And I did, ever since I had the story. Every time I went out after that. But it was a great lesson, because I wish he would have punched me, because his words hurt. But I got the message. So there's 3 moments. What about you?
I don't have anything to compare to that. But you've been in business like 140 years.
See?
We're friends. I think two issues in Yuma, my first market, and if you know about TV markets, the higher the number, kind of the worse you are. But you have to start somewhere, dang it. So here I was anchoring morning and noon. So when you anchor in a small market, you have to do everything. So I'm doing sports and entertainment and weather. Well, I'm from Michigan, so I know what surrounds Michigan, but I know nothing about the rest of the U.S. I mean, why would I? I just want to do the news, right? And so I'm doing the weather, and I'm playing to the panhandle, which I don't know where the panhandle is, so I just go like this. That's the panhandle. And then I was talking about the snow in Des Moines, and I meant well, like I nailed it, capital D-E-S, Des Moines. Yeah, the phone's lit up on that one. Another one that got me, you can see me doing it. Another one that got me, same Yuma, I was doing a live shot. And so before you do your live shots, you kind of walk through with your photographer, what you want to do, especially if there's movement, because they need to know, they don't want to just, jerk the camera all around and not be able to follow you. And so I'm with my photographer, we're at the fairground, something fun and light and everything. So I'm walking them through, I'm like, so then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to turn around and do this, and then I'm going to do this. And I don't know, but we're live. Nobody told me we had a hot camera. And I was so embarrassed because that's when I was dating, because I was married before, but that's when we were dating. And so his friends, everybody was watching. It was their first time seeing Kelly on TV. And here's me, I never do this, never do this. And it was so embarrassing. But I just went on about my business, finished my live shot, and threw it back into the station. But it's like, it's all out there. I mean, seriously. And I think that people can identify with you that you're human. Nobody wants a robot. And when you talk about, being nice and being in the studio, I mean, I'm dancing during the commercial breaks. Because I'm so happy to be here, and I love life, and I'm so blessed. And when I meet people, I want to give them the VIP treatment every single time. And the fact is, the same person that you see here, if you jump online and you go to my show, quick plug, KCTV5.com, but if you go to Better Kansas City and you click on some of my links, the person you see right here is this person you're going to see there. It's the same person. So those are my 2 issues. I don't want to have a third. That's enough. That's more.
We can create it here. Go ahead.
That was enough. Where is everybody going? Oh, okay. Y'all didn't cancel class today for us? Yeah.
Jay means that too.
Come on now. Try. Y'all have any questions?
Someone has to have a question. As a matter of fact, here's the mic.
Let's get them warmed up a little bit more. Okay, we gotta.
They're not warm by now.
Yeah, they're not warm by now. We gotta give them some more. All right. Now we talked about earlier on, Kelly. We talked about your relationships and how important they are. Something that. How many guys heard the term networking? How many guys know what it is? You do know what it is. Come here for a second. Yeah. We gonna do
Right
something.
now, he's like, why did I raise
See,
you?
we like to have fun. My guys, like we talk about, we're not boring, we're not stiff. What do you think networking is?
Just meeting people, putting yourself out there, trying to, get as many connections as you can.
Really?
Yeah, I guess so.
Jay, come here for a second. I want to test this out. Okay. You're just meeting Jay Harris for the first time. Get the mic for Jack. I want you to tell me, based on what you were taught about networking, right? How, if you wanted to get into broadcasting, and you just meet Jay for the first time, you're at a cocktail party, you and him one-on-one, tell me how the conversation will go.
What's the menu?
Yeah, what kind of cocktails are we having here?
You guys say, you guys mistake.
Non-alcoholic.
No, I would just, introduce myself.
It's your time.
Jay, nice to meet you. I'm JJ Du Bois.
JJ, nice to meet you.
How did you get your start? I'm pursuing broadcasting. I kind of want to know what kind of key points moving forward for myself. That I should pursue.
Yeah, I'm kind of busy right now. I'm at this party. I'm supposed to meet somebody. You can Google me.
Okay, yeah. I follow you on Twitter too, by the way. So
Good seeing you.
that didn't work.
It didn't work. Okay, see, here's the deal. The reason why I say that, we want to have fun with this. We want to get you guys to think a little differently. You see, what happens is, when you talk to networks, right, they tell you to bring your resume, they get the card and all that kind of stuff. I say the opposite. My thing is, when you talk to people like Jay or anybody else, you treat them like you treat anybody else, right? Like, for example, what's your first name?
JJ.
JJ, okay. No, I knew you're going to probably say, where's he going with this one? All right. Do you have a girlfriend?
I've got a wife.
You got a wife, my man. Okay. What's her name?
Holly.
Okay, when you first met Holly, did you say to her, hey, Holly, I want to marry you?
Pretty much not. I was just, just ask how she's doing, where she's from, what's her family like.
Okay.
That's really what you
And that's exactly what you should be doing with Jay, okay? You treat your personal and business the same way.
Don't propose to me.
Don't propose to him. Now see how the conversation goes this time when you ask him personal things about who he is as a person. When he has, then see how the conversation goes now.
All right, so I'm JJ Du Bois.
Nice to meet you, JJ.
Where are you from?
I was born in Norfolk, Virginia, raised in Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
Never been out there, but I'm from South Bend, Indiana.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Are you a Notre Dame fan?
Worked at Notre Dame for a year.
Cool.
So, yeah, big Notre Dame fan, unfortunately, after what
right.
Alabama did to us.
Well, that was tough. I don't think anyone could have beaten Alabama that night.
Oh,
Any
sure.
other night.
Johnny Manziel might have been able to.
I don't think so. Not that night.
So,
Yeah.
I'll go with that. That makes Notre Dame look a little better, but so you graduated from Old Dominion?
I did. How'd you know that?
I follow you on Twitter.
Okay.
Are you married?
I am.
Got kids?
I do.
What are their names? Ages?
That's pretty personal.
No,
They're 14 and 7, boy and girl.
Boy play sports?
The boy does. Well, they both like to play soccer. He likes to play basketball. Plays drums.
Okay.
She's a dancer and a singer. She's my entertainer 401k. And she likes to golf too.
Ooh, I'm literally the worst golfer that's ever existed.
Really?
Very true.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that.
I will almost promise you, I bet everyone in this room I'm the worst golfer there. So,
Okay, let's stop right here. Okay, now you see how the conversation went this time? Okay, and we never met, we never talked,
Right.
all right? My point is to you is that when you start talking to people like they're a human being, like they have some value, and not talk to them like, oh, he has a job or he's a celebrity. And the thing that you could have taken to the next level, you made it personal. You found out what school he went to. You talked about where you went to school. You talked about you being a Notre Dame fan. But you lost him when you asked him a personal question about his marriage. You should have then said, I'm married too. Now you have something in common with him. Do you have kids? Oh, I'm
You got all about business, man.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so my point to you is that the reason why I'm saying this thing about the networking piece is that a lot of times we're taught to act a certain way, be robots, as Kelly talked about, when you don't have to be that way. And you see how natural and calm and cool Jay is. There's a lot of people out there like that, but you will never know that because we're always walking like robots. When you go to your employer, future wife, future husband, talk to people like they're human beings first. Okay? Don't, because they can lose their job overnight. Like Kelly talked, she'll be a mother longer than she'll be a newscaster and being on TV. So think about that. You have your own brand. You are your own person. So when you're talking to people and getting to know people, we wanted to do this kind of exercise to give you an idea of what they should and should not do. So Jay, when you have a student talking to you in the future, and Kelly too, what do you guys look for when students come up to you? What are some of your limitations? If they say, you give them your card, what would you like them to do? Would you like them to email you every day? Would you like them to contact you on Twitter? How would you like them to interact with you?
Wow. Nice job.
I appreciate it.
Great job.
Probably email. It's a little more personal. I mean, people tweet me and I'll tweet them back and then they'll start asking me questions and questions that I don't want to answer in a public forum. Because there's no privacy. So I email if I give you my card. Okay.
All right, thank you.
I think something that's really important is that when you do meet people, someone taught me this, and so I'm going to share it with you. When you meet a person, they give you a card. On the back of that card, write 3 things down about them so that you remember them. So that when you email them or you call them, you can say, hey, Kelly Jones from Michigan with the 2 kids and loves Target. Great meeting you. And to me, on my end, I'm like, wow, this person actually listened to me. Because I think a lot of people get so caught up in what you do for a living, but they know nothing about you. And so if I'm doing a forum or I'm emceeing an event, it helps me if you know a little bit of my background, so that when we talk, we go from there. Instead of you saying, so where are you from? And what do you do? And if anyone knows me, they know that I have a public job, but I lead a very private life. Very private. So if you, JJ, were to ask me about my kids, I'd tell you they're 9 and 7. And if you were to say, what's their name? I'd say Little Jones and Little Jones. Because unfortunately in the business, especially for women, there are people who want to be a little too friendly with you. I have stalkers, and I've been to court to deal with stalkers. I mean, I have people who want to kill me. I have people who want to marry me. I have people who want to kidnap me. I have people who think that they should be the father of my children. Thanks, but no thanks. They have the best dad, period. But, and so I've chosen the path, and it's not always easy, and some people think you're trying to be more important than you are. I MC a lot of events, and that's the way I really immerse myself into Kansas City, because people are like, who is this Kelly Jones character? Because as you see, that's like 800 weaves ago, right there, that hair. I'm comfortable with it. It's we all understand. But I came to town, and I replaced the guy, and so Kansas City did not like me, and so they threw me on the desk a little bit sooner than I should have been, and I was mispronouncing everything you could think of. I was renaming streets and renaming cities. Des Moines again. I mean, I just said it with conviction. But I chose early to keep my private life private, because that's all I have. That's all I have. That's my cherished moment. So I'm huge on Twitter. I've been thrown in Twitter jail a number of times. But there are things that are off limits. Like I tweet different messages from church. And people say, oh, well, what church do you go to? And I don't answer them. in a public forum, in a direct message, I'll say, listen, there are a few things that I have to myself, and my spirituality and my relationship with God is mine. Because there are people in church who are sitting behind me taking pictures. Are you serious? This is my time. There are people at Target, again, Target. I caught this woman in the frozen food section, and she was taking a picture of me from a distance. And I said, please don't do that, because I have my kids with me. Why don't we take a picture together, as long as you understand my kids cannot be in it. And my kids are conditioned. They know to turn around backwards. They know if somebody asks them what their names are, it's Miss Jones and Mr. Jones. Because in this day and age, you have to, I am on the front lines. My job is to protect them. This TV gig is going to come and go, but I'm going to be their mother forever. And when I chose to have them, I chose to protect them for life. It is so important that you stand for something. So again, I chose to keep my private life private. So, and I let people know. I'm not trying to be rude, but understand that I have allegiance to my kids, not you. And you don't know who's going to tell who business, even in the school. I mean, I can't have my picture in the yearbook with my own kids, because who knows where that yearbook goes? Who knows if there's a stalker, a predator, who's going to now know where Kelly Jones's kids go? And again, I'm a single mom in Kansas City with no family. I'm it.
Wow.
Thank you.
I got one. Relationship-wise, I want to touch on this. We talked earlier about relationships and how you develop and get jobs. Like Kelly, I talked earlier about how Kelly, when she was first on the news show, she was so good at what she did that the higher-ups, the executives at the network, wanted to create an opportunity for her on this news show. So she didn't apply for this job. It was not in the newspaper. So in terms of relationships and networking, and also talking about you being a woman, Jay obviously being an African-American man working for ESPN, how important is it, beyond the spirituality, in terms of how talking to the students about how important it is to kind of be transparent when you're talking to people and not deal with people because of their culture or their race or their skin color or even their gender? How do you talk to these students now at this age and teaching them about how important it is to embrace people because of who they are and not because of what the color of their skin is, and their nationality, their religion, and their gender, and their sex?
I don't know if I'm the best to answer that question, because I'm kind of radical. I mean, I hang with some folks at work that we just talk about everything. And these days, you really can't do that with most folks. We make jokes, we crack racial jokes, we do things to break down so many barriers, so it really doesn't matter what you are or what you look like. It doesn't matter, because it doesn't. And if I'm able to look at Mark and make a joke, and he can look back at me and make a joke, you realize, ooh, that didn't hurt.
It does hurt, Jay.
Well, if I get a good one in on you, it might hurt for a second. And I expect you to come back strong.
Oh, we always do.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. I mean, in dealing with the higher ups, there's a respect factor, but people are people. People are people. And I get this sometimes. You're a black guy working at a white network. No, I'm really not. I'm really not. I mean, the network doesn't have a color. And this is just my covering. It's not. I'm me. And if I'm able to have a relationship and a conversation with somebody, you could be white, blue, green. If you're blue or green, that'd be a heck of a conversation. Exactly. It doesn't, but it really doesn't matter. We build up these barriers in our head, and we're conditioned socially and culturally to have these built-in perceptions, and we don't even talk to people and get to know them. Stop that. That's what I want you to do. And if you have friends who do it, say, stop that. That's the only way it's going to stop. Because it's not that big a deal. It's just not.
Remember a good example. How many of you guys followed the NCAA tournament? Remember Florida Gulf Coast, that one?
Yeah.
Talk about that. Florida Gulf Coast.
Yeah. Those young Caucasian fellows were jumping out of the gym. White men can't jump? Yes, they can. Yes, they can. And I went on the radio with a buddy of mine, and we actually went there. Because it's what you're watching. You're watching it. You're thinking that. So let's talk about it. You know, a lot of people are like, you can't talk about that. Why not? You're thinking it. Let's talk about it. Put it out there, and we have a laugh, and we move on. I hope they go a long way, because those brothers are entertaining. And when I say brothers, I mean brothers, because they're brothers. They're all brothers and sisters. They're brothers, and they play well.
Yeah, like one of the players said, we're from Dunk City.
Yes.
Ooh, all right. Going back to color, I think you have to remember that the color of money is green. And at the bottom line, that's what the networks, that's what the local affiliates, that's what people care about. And so if you want to have staying power, you need to know how to connect with people who look like you and people who don't look like you. It doesn't mean that you're going to, have perfect relationships with people, but don't be condescending to people. You need to understand who butters your bread. Very important, and that's from the business side of understanding things. Mark, you say so many nice things. You put it so nicely. I mean, I did the news, I did. And so what happened is we're the CBS affiliate, so we carried Live with Kelly. So of course the headline was one Kelly replaces another Kelly. But we carried that syndicated show, and so Meredith decided that they didn't want to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars anymore carrying syndication. They wanted to insert local programming, which means cheaper talent, just so you know. And they said, we want somebody who can lead this and who can headline this and somebody who is invested in the community, and that person's Kelly Jones. So when they offered me the gig, they said, you don't have to interview for the job. It's not gonna be posted, you want it, you got it. But with that comes a huge responsibility, because I'm in you know this being in Mississippi, there's a lot of racial issues in Kansas City that I knew nothing about. There's a state line that divides Kansas City, Kansas, and Kansas City, Missouri. There's 2 Kansas Cities, which I didn't know until I Googled for my job interview. But there's so much racial tension in this town, and so to have a black woman, and that's what I am, a black woman, because some people don't know, but...
You got a light skin.
Are those your eyes? He's got some good eyes. Okay. And just like you said, I mean, I say what you're thinking. For real. But to have a black woman have her own show, what? Are you kidding? Yeah, I said it, and I do it. And I don't take it for granted. And I understand the huge platform that I'm on and that what I represent. And so if I'm not given another day at the station, I know every day on day, I go 2,000%. Nobody can ever take that from me, ever, ever, ever. And so I think it's important that when you work with different races and folks and people from different countries, you have to remember how hard you work to get there. And you don't want a little conflict to get in the way of your greatness. You have to remain true to who you are and understand how to politic with people. I think that if we had a segment that we could call They Never Told Me, my segment would be They Never Told Me about all the politics that happen. It's not about who's good and who knows who. It's about, who knows when to go to a party, how long do you stay at the party, do you talk to the boss, do you talk to the boss's wife, do you give a gift, do you not give a gift? I mean, there's so much politicking, and every day is a learning experience. I'm working on self every day. So if you guys have the formula, be sure to email me or tweet me and let me know.
Thanks again. Question up. We have, at this time, change of pace, have a question from the floor. So,
Girl, I thought you asked a question.
man, one question went out the door. I was going to bring it back to the floor. I state your name and your question.
I'm Jordan Butts. I'm a senior here at Belhaven. I'm also a big Florida Gulf Coast fan. One of my best friends, Bernard Thompson.
Nice.
Okay. But my question would be adversity for you two. Not to get too personal, but everyone that made it somewhere that they really wanted to be in life had to deal with some type of adversity at one point. And my question would be to you, were there any point during your process where you really thought you wouldn't make it and you almost gave up, and how did you deal with that? And what advice do you have for someone who would possibly go to those type of stretches or imagines to do the type of thing they want to do, and how far would you go to get what you want?
I think the late Jim Valvano said it best: don't give up, don't ever give up. And that's period. Because mine started at the beginning, when I was out of school and I had my little resume tape and I was sending it out, and I kept getting these little thin letters back in the mail. And you'd open them up and, oh, I got a letter back. Thank you for your submission, or sorry, no jobs available, and you're not any good anyway, goodbye. Okay. So I got another letter, and it was thin. I was like, oh, can't, well, thank you for your submission, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I kept getting these thin letters. And I was like, I'm never gonna make it. It's not gonna happen for me. So I'm gonna go to grad school. And I applied to grad school. And I got one of those letters back from grad school. Because I guess, I like to think that I was a valuable commodity and they could have used me, but they didn't want me. For some reason, either they had enough or they didn't want me. I was full, whatever. So I'm like, well, I guess I can't give up. I can't go back to grad school, so I'm gonna have to make this TV thing or radio thing work. And many, many years later, it has, to a degree, okay. But it's there at the very beginning for me.
And actually tell them the story about you almost didn't go to ESPN. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, tell the story. Yeah, tell that story.
I was in Pittsburgh. I was a news anchor, the main anchor for the Fox affiliate. It was at the end of my contract, and I had sent out some tapes, got a few bites, not that many. I sent my tape to a buddy of mine who I used to work at that networking thing, a buddy of mine I used to work with in Pittsburgh. He was now working at ESPN. And I sent it to him just to critique it, because I trusted his eye. And he showed it to some folks, and it's like, hey, he's pretty good, let's bring him for an interview. So he does news, doesn't do sports. Well, he can write and tell a story, bring him anyway. So he called me up and said, they want to bring him for an audition. I was like, really? Yeah, okay. So 5 people they were bringing, I was number 3. And I went in and I wrote we write our own stuff, by the way. What you see me reading, I wrote that. I wrote my audition, did my highlight. I'd never done an actual game highlight before because I did news. And I just had some fun with it. And I guess I did something they liked, because at the end of the audition, I interviewed with a bunch of people and went home, and you called me up and said, yeah, they want to offer you a job. Serious? I don't want to work at ESPN. I'm a news guy. I mean, the Day Show, Good Morning America, that's my goal. I don't want to work at ESPN. Plus, it's cold in Connecticut. Like Pittsburgh's not cold, right? He said, cool, if anything I can do for you, just holler at me, let me know. Yeah, they called me back a couple days later. They really want to hire you. I said, are you serious? He's like, yeah, they do. I said, well, tell me about the job. So ESPN News and working weekends, no mention of Sports Center, and blah, blah, blah. I said, well, how much does it pay? And he gave me the range. I said, well, I make more than that now. And plus, I mean, the boy, he's little, he likes to eat, and the wife, and the stuff, and they got to move to Connecticut. It's expensive. It's expensive in Connecticut. I don't know why, because it's between New York and Boston. So it's but I digress. So, if I was younger, maybe, but I'm single, but I can't, bruh, I can't do it. I totally understand. If there's anything I can do for you, let me know. Just this twice. He called me back, I think it was the next day. They want to know what it would take to get you up here. Are you serious? I don't know what you said in your interviews, but they really like you. Wow. So I talked to my agent, we threw a number at them. They didn't meet the number, but they got close. And then it was like, wow, they're close. Back and forth. Listen, we'd like an answer by 5 o'clock tomorrow. So call my agent. All right, we're gonna go. You sure? Yeah. All right, they announced it in the meeting. Went to bed that night. Woke up the next morning. I'm not going. Didn't want to go. Now, I got the look from the wife. Kelly, give me the look. Got out the legal pad, line down the middle, pros and cons. The Disney benefits alone made it a great move. But that's how I got ESPN. And 10 years later, it was the best decision. Because everything I wanted to do news-wise, I've done sports-wise. I mean, for 6 years, I hosted the Sports Center at 6 o'clock. That's the evening news of sports. That was me. Woo-hoo, that was me. I did that. When I went down to New York, when Cole Pizza and our first take was there, that was the Today Show. It was just sports. I've talked to people. I get to do those crazy commercials. So somebody had a plan for me that I almost messed up because I'm stupid. But that's how I got to ESPN. And I'm glad I'm there. Thanks for making me tell that story.
I had to do it. I'll pull it out of you. Same question for Kelly. You obviously have traveled all around the world, and one thing I didn't touch on in your bio is talking about what you did overseas and what you did for the Marines. Kind of talk to them about just your experience with the Marines and how that came about and the kind of responsibility you had, because as I told them earlier, I told them to think about the first time they saw someone that became the person that they see now before them. And I told them as they got to know you, they're going to see the metamorphosis of you. And when they really learn your background, the other things that you did, in addition to what you were doing right now and what you're about to do, that's what makes you so unique and different from any other person out there right now. So kind of give them a little bit of an understanding about your background as far as the Marines go.
Okay, well, to address your question as far as adversity, the way I was raised, excuse me, the way I was raised was that there's it's all about perspective. And so what somebody else's failure is just another opportunity for me to learn. Like, I had to put myself out there and say, seriously, like, strip me and show me how to do this business. Because I think when you come in talking about, oh, I know how to do this with the neck pop, you know, or I watch this person and I want to do, no. Because if you were that good, you wouldn't be in the situation to be looking for a job. Let's be real. So I think to humble yourself and to learn from those around you. And there's a lot of people who don't want to see you succeed, just because they are so unhappy with themselves. Like, I get a lot of pushback because people look at me and they think, oh, well, you're only a certain way because you've been in the business a couple of years. 13 years. And I have the same happy stance because I'm so blessed to be here. And everybody doesn't have that foundation. Again, I come from a family that my mom, went through a divorce, got remarried, but along the way she always told me, you never have gaps in your resume. Find something to do. Seriously, do something. You know, volunteer. It's important to be in your community. Don't be so caught up in the titles. And so, yep, I fell in love, married a Marine. We went overseas to Tirana, Albania, and then Brussels, Belgium, and that's where I had my daughter. But along the way, I worked with the Marine Corps to keep myself current, because the reality of life is nobody cares about you. So people go, oh yeah, you've been overseas, so, you know, they have the whiffum effect with the Marines say, what's in it for me? What are you bringing to the table that I can benefit from? If not, next, they move on. So I was an American diplomat overseas, and I was a newsletter editor for the Brussels Weekly. And that was our newsletter that wasn't just for local folk. This was for expats, expatriates. This is for the government. This was for NATO personnel. This is for Americans overseas. People, I was like the concierge when it came to Brussels. And so if you were moving there, it was my job to teach you all about what was there for Americans. Because you don't know, you're moving to this foreign country, you don't know that there are Belgian waffles and these people don't put syrup on their waffles. I will tell you that because I walked around and tasted it. You know, it's just little things like that. And I always say that there's not an A to B when it comes to reaching your goals. You gotta zigzag with it. You have to be expeditious with your ways. Because if you think about that you want that job, well, what the heck differentiates you from the other 10,000 people who want it too? So you have to make yourself stand out and be different. And so, and then you don't just want to rest on your laurels and say, well, I've done this. So what? If God woke you up, you have a new day to get it right. Because we're always fine-tuning the machine. And I end every day with how can I better me? Because a better me is a better community. And I'm never quite happy with the answer. So that means I gotta go to bed and I gotta do it again the next day. So when we came from overseas, you know, I had these 2 kids, I'm still breastfeeding, and I want to get back on TV and nobody's taking my calls. But again, back to the networking, I was an intern in Detroit. And our weekend, one of our reporters was now the weekend anchor in San Diego. I reached out to her, I said, hey, I'm not sure if you remember me, but she said, of course I remember you. You were the intern's intern. You never said no. You were always excited. You volunteered your time. I will personally take your resume into the news director. And boom. I mean, imagine had I tried to be something more than I was at a young, tender age of 20-something. I mean, the fact that I humbled myself at an early age, I networked, and then she remembered me. And it's now my duty to give back to the next Kelly Jones. So I'm trying to touch on everything that we've done, but that's from a networking standpoint. And so I walked in, and so I went to HR, and they said, well, when's her first day? And my news director said, today. I said, what? You say what now? And he said, yeah, you said you wanted a job. And so I was a freelancer. And then all of a sudden, they said, so-and-so's sick tomorrow. You're going to go live tomorrow. Live as in like TV live? Because you got to be real careful saying what you want. Because when the opportunity presents itself, do understand that one of my favorite songs is One Shot by Eminem. I'm from Michigan. But it's like, come on now, you got that one shot. And so I said, what if I have laryngitis? And they said, that ain't gonna work. And I went on TV, and I looked like a deer. My eyes were so big. And I was practicing, and then the main anchor, she said, before we get to the story, we want to introduce our newest teammate. And I almost lost it, because I'm like, that wasn't in my script. No, I'm going to do A to B to C. But it just goes to show you have to be, what we say in the Marine Corps is semper gumby, which is always flexible. You got to move and groove with it, because that is the way the world turns. So yeah, that's my little humble story. Hopefully I answered the question a little bit.
You did. I wanted you to talk to us a little bit more about the Marine piece, what you were able to do.
Okay, so what I did was I had a husband who was in reconnaissance, and so with that he was going to go overseas, and we didn't know when he was going to deploy. So the first time I left the TV business was to get married and have children, and now here I am leaving the business again because he's deploying and my kids need some sort of consistency. We're in San Diego, we have no family, it's all me or nothing. So I left the business. Well, along the way, same week that I left the business, there was this job posting for the Marine Corps, hoorah. And I said, well, what is this? And so it's a family readiness officer, and the reason why the Commandant decided to create this role is because in the past, there was a Marine who would have their Marine Corps job, and they'd have what's called collateral duties, or collats. And so the Marine would have about 5 jobs, and oh, by the way, help take care of the families. So the families were falling apart. Retention numbers were down because Marines, you know, if you don't keep mama happy, you can't go do your job. So Marines were quitting the Marine Corps, and divorce rates were higher, and there was just no consistency, and units couldn't focus because families were not happy. So the Commandant said, I want a person that's solely there for the family, in austere conditions, to be there when the units are forward deployed. I want someone who families can call and get answers. And that was me. And so I interviewed for the job, and I was the first person in the entire Marine Corps in the 232-year history to be a family readiness officer. And I took my job with seriousness. And even now, my Marines call me the civilian Marine. I stay in contact with my Marines, and my job is to take care of about 19,000 families. And with that, again, like if you ever go to your favorite hotel, you go, I'm not sure what I want to do in this city. You call me, and I let you know. I let you know about health, I let you know about recreation, I let you know about things. And I took care of my single Marines too. And it was a big job, and that's where my media training came in. Because see, Marines can't ask for stuff, but I could. And I'd say, now you know this man is fighting for your country. You know you need to give him a 20% discount. Stop whining. You know, but I also was doing TV. So Monday through Friday it was Marine Corps, rah, and then Saturday and Sunday it was Channel 5 or Channel 8 in San Diego. So being the first, I love it, and I hold that tradition very near and dear to my heart. But again, it's something that, and I love that people go, I didn't know that. Good. You shouldn't paint a picture and think I'm going to fit into it, because just when you think you got me, I juke.
Is that verse?
How did you do it again? Okay, all right.
Like Barry Sanders juke.
And it's that versatility. That's what we're hoping that our students gain today. You talked about relationship building, networking, written communication, verbal communication, being ready for the moment. Many of our students, and this is from a professor standpoint, seeing them as student athletes. They've been in big games. They've won national championships. They've been there for that moment. They've come up short from winning championships. The question I have, and we always talk about what's going to happen when the air goes out of the ball. Because eventually, Mark will never shoot another jump shot. I will never shoot another jump shot. But I'll keep trying.
I might not make it.
But you're going to keep shooting. But the question I have to both Jay and Kelly is, what advice can you offer to our students in terms of looking to the future? You talked about reaching back, remembering those who prayed for you, who helped get you ready to go to school. What can you encourage our students to do as they look to their future? That knowing that today they have a special time doing this advice from the pros, a moment that hopefully they'll forever remember. But I know in my life I've passed paths with people who just having them touch or an opportunity to spend a few moments inspired me. What can you leave with them, that one word that when they're going through academic planning, when they're going through final exams, when they're out in the real world not having a job, what one thing can you encourage them to do to keep striving forward? And finish it. That's the key word, finish it.
Okay, first of all, just admit to yourself that whatever dream or goal you have, just say it. There's a possibility that it might not happen, because that's real. A lot of folks want to do what I do, and they talk to me about it, and it just doesn't happen. That's just real, okay? So there it is. You think about it, you take that thought, and you throw it away. You don't deal with it ever again. And you take this with you. Whatever I do, As long as I follow my dreams in my heart, it will be worth it. Whatever's at the end, it will be worth it. As long as I go with what's in here and what's in here. So it may not be, I started in radio. I could have stayed in radio. I love radio. When I was in 11th grade, I wanted to be on television. But I got into radio first. And it was absolutely tremendous. You never know along the way what life is going to give you. So wherever you end up, just always remember that it will be worth it. As long as you feel it here, and as long as you know it here.
That was deep. I think that if you are, especially if you're student athletes, whatever dedication you put forth in the field or on the court, you do the same in your own life. It is so important to look in the mirror and say, first of all, I got this. I got this. I always recommend that you tell very few people your dreams, because when you say it out loud, there's a lot of people who remind you, you didn't do that, you didn't do that, ooh, you didn't do that. So it is so important to, again, strip yourself away and say, how bad do I want this? And am I willing to sacrifice? Because, leaders, when you're a leader, it's very lonely up top. Because everybody else wants you to go party with them. Everybody else wants you to do the cool thing. But if you really want something, you have to show dedication and discipline. Because you want it. But when you make it, you remember what it was like when you had nothing. And that'll sustain you. Don't get somewhere and act all brand new. You better remember where you come from. So when you go home, you go speak to the young people. When you're in the community, you give back. You take the time, because it may sound like such a cliche, but knowing that you've touched one person, are you kidding me? That is huge. For somebody to say, it's because of you, I believed in me. And we need to motivate each other. The cool thing about this business is Jay and I met many years ago. We lost touch, and then we came back together. But we didn't skip a beat. You take care of each other. You look out for each other. Because a lot of us are struggling with the same things, but we're too proud, especially as women. We're told, don't look weak. Are you serious? I put it out there. Look, I have problems. I have issues just like everybody else. But it's how I take those issues and reverse it. So I think it's so important that I'm giving you a homework assignment, not that I'm a professor or a doctor, but to look in the mirror today and say, I got this. And you're going to kind of say it all week, like, I got this. Because who would believe in you? Who would follow your lead if you don't even believe in yourself? In my family, my mom always says, the better you are to you is the better you can be to other people. And so if you find that you keep hitting a wall, yeah, it's not everybody else, it's you. Let's just be real. So when you go home, you look in the mirror and say, I got this. And that is so important.